big boy.
Do 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 do. Bo 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 bo.
Oh, maybe the bucket goes to the left.
Yeah. Hello. What up?
I would like to sit on Daddy's lap while he does pottery. You realize you can't do that, right? I mean, no. There is no way to do it. Hello, nobody.
Oh, they'll be here. Don't you worry.
That's mine. You want to throw those over on the work table for me?
A work table. Oh, it's like that thing over here.
Yeah, like that thing over there. Okay, all of those are probably useful enough. I've never done this before. You ever try to send her a coffee mug? It's difficult because there's a handle on it.
What you doing?
I am trying to get this centered so that I know where to put the gauge so that I can have it, 12% bigger. Jesus. Okay, so that's the closest point. On belt-driven wheels, you can't just turn it backwards without doing damage to the thing itself. All right. Did you hear it slide? I did. It's further off now than it was before. Okay, that's still close though. And then, you see how good I am? I'm already narrating.
Do you ever do the thing where you just like put your finger in the water and like make yourself a little target?
Yep.
Yeah, I do that.
Those are centimeters. And if I want to go up 10% from 10 centimeters, that's really easy to do. So I want to be at about 11 centimeters. Let's go with 11 centimeters. Oh, you're a problem child, aren't you? Okay, and then this is a good place to have more light.
Would you like me to get you more light?
Nope.
Okay.
Let me ask you this though. Do we have
I'm here too. Hi.
You're the only one in the chat though.
No,
Oh.
not.
I can see.
Painter's tape.
Oh.
There's tons of it right over there.
Okay. Only it weren't positioned for only tall people to get it.
I mean, there's other painter's tape somewhere that's lower down, but
These are like stuck together.
yes. That's because we buy painter's tapes in batches of 10 rolls. So, hey, Brian and Dornoth.
Diornoth.
Sounds elvish.
Yeah.
It's elvish for door knocker. All right, so I'm just going to spike this because I don't actually want that thing floating over my pottery. So, hey, I'm not Amy by any means.
Well, the name of the stream is Robinson.
Oh.
The Robinsons throw stuff.
All right.
So.
Well, I'm a Robinson, though I'm not Amy. She's hovering over my shoulder, though, so she'll probably.
It's true.
pop
I'm
in.
here. Hello.
You should be standing over here or
I
something.
can stand over here.
So I'm using this thing. This is called a pottery gauge because it's a gauge and it's for pottery. To kind of measure essentially a little bit bigger than a regular old coffee mug. And I'm going to try and throw a bunch of cylinders that are coffee mug shaped. Partly just because it's really good to practice making the same shapes as our recent instructor
Harder.
has told us.
Your pie hole.
Come on up.
It's like, I want to see my fans.
Come on, up. You don't know how to do this without my other knee visible. I see that. So you see how all these things are going to go around and everything? You would die up here. Yeah, you would. You wouldn't make it. You wouldn't make it out alive. So we're not going to let you do that. But I'll let you hang out up here for just a little bit.
Give them to me.
Not really, because I need to like grab some clay and stuff like that. So.
Okay. I'll get out the way.
Yeah.
I will be throwing things also in a little bit, but Chuck was already at the wheel when our timetable moved up unexpectedly due to Scott's doctor's appointment running long. So yeah, so you get both of us. It's a bonus Robinson. Isn't that exciting?
16.4. That's way too much for. Well, we'll see. We'll see, won't we? So this is a thing that you should never do. Grab a bunch of already used clay and just kind of mash it together by hand. But what we would normally do is, what's that word? We'd wedge it. And we have this nice wedging table here with a slab of plaster to dry stuff out on. But I'm not really wedging. So I'm just kind of throwing this together to try and knock out all the air bubbles. This is roughly 1.25 pounds of clay, which is more than I need to throw the cylinder. This is actually an example of what I've thrown in the past. It should have like a word on it, but the stamps that I used to imprint it into the clay were too small. But I'm looking for something about that size, bigger than 12 ounces, because that way, if you're used to making, say, coffee in a 12-ounce mug, it's bigger than that instead of smaller than that, because smaller than that means that you get hot coffee everywhere. I don't really like the foot on that one. The tool that I used to make that, it's a beautiful tool, but I think it's better for bowls and stuff like that. And that mug was done with some kind of white clay, probably B mix, which is a mix of.
I was gonna say that looks like B mix. It doesn't look like 182.
Yeah, B mix is a mix of 2 different clays, one of which is just drop it in there. Porcelain, which is beautiful but hard to work with, or most people find it hard to work with, and an easier clay to use. And the big bottoms on that look kind of goofy. They look kind of like just not pretty, but it looks really good with this stuff, which is tan speck. It's got a lot of grog in it, which is like specks of dirt. But I'm going to go for a smaller foot with these, and again about that size. The bat that I'm using is a little bit warped. Is it the bat or is it you? That's better. Okay. So, yeah. See, I don't know how much you guys have learned from listening to Amy, or if you have listened to Amy in the past, but I do almost everything slightly different. We were talking about this yesterday with a bunch of people, because like when Amy does decoration, she does all this beautiful like drawing and stuff, and she does like really nifty carving and stuff, which I would actually like to get good at. And I take a big old thing and I dump it in some glaze, and I take it back out again and hope that it looks good later.
He makes it sound like I am super good at it and he's super not. He is really good at throwing things that look beautiful. I have to make them look beautiful.
The way
afterwards.
that the way that one of our instructors put it is I'm really interested in the structure of the piece, and Amy is really, really into the decoration.
Yes. So between us,
we should be able to make a decent looking piece of pottery. Yeah. Okay.
By our powers combined.
Yeah. This is actually way less clay than I usually throw with, so centering is probably going to be a bit of a mess for me. We'll know soon enough. I'm not going fast enough. I'm also not used to narrating pottery. I narrate software stuff all the time.
You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm standing here. I can talk.
Yeah,
and I can greet the chat room and stuff.
Well, I'm counting on you to greet the chat room because I'm not keeping an eye on it. But,
hey, Webbit.
Wait, is that Webbit Magic?
It is Webbit Magic.
Haha! I know who that is. Or, I know the name. So yeah, this is way less clay than I usually center. But it seems to be working okay. When you first start, people tell you to start by throwing like 1 or 2 pounds. And I have found, I don't know if you have found this, but I have found now that like 1 pound of clay is very difficult for me to get under control because it's small and I have very big hands. You do not have very big hands. So.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I can see why people often say that once you get good enough to where you're throwing, bigger amounts, that you actually find it easier to throw with like 5 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever, like that. Like throwing big actually is easier to center than throwing small things. I haven't gotten there yet, so really the most I usually throw is like around 3 pounds at this point, so that's still fairly small.
Yeah. Oof. And I am feeling the fact that I did not wedge this.
I was gonna say, like, that's definitely got some lumps in there.
I can feel it.
Here, give me some of this clay. I'll go wedge in the other room. I'll find something to wedge on.
You can wedge on that. You can just squeeze in there and wedge if you want.
Wedge on Mr. Zero here?
Yeah.
Just straight on him? Okay.
Anybody interested in knowing why that piece of plaster is named Mr. Zero? I'm going to assume that you are.
Tell him anyway. Yeah.
Making smooth plaster is a bit of a pain, and it's a thing that we have to do in pottery for a number of different things if we want to make molds or anything like that. And so I made this really huge batch in an 11 by 17 pan.
He's talking about this big slab that you see over here. That's what we're talking about.
And so it needed a couple of days to dry properly. And so I wanted to make sure nobody touched it. So I put a little sign on it that said, "Don't fuck with Mr. Zero," which was originally a line from a movie, When Harry Met Sally. Okay, so I'm going to slow you down a little bit now. So yeah, throwing cylinders is supposed to be like one of the biggest, most important basic things that you do in pottery. And I heard that probably in my first class and just completely ignored it because I generally like to throw really curvy forms and stuff like that. And I'm much better at it now than I was then. We've both been throwing for just over a year at this point.
You're running 1.25 pounds?
Yeah. But it's still not my regular thing. So this is sort of a new thing for me, trying to throw cylinders, especially with clay that hasn't been properly wedged. So what I'm hoping is, as I do this pull, I'll be kind of smoothing out some of the lumps and whatnot. I'm getting a little bit dry here at the top, which is not good because it can cause the clay to twist a little bit. Everybody uses a different word for it. Some people say twist, some people say torque. Torque makes sense to me because it's as you go up and it's slower, the grip on the clay makes it turn more slowly. So it's not like you're twisting it, but it's twisting itself as it turns underneath you, and it's the pressure and the dryness of it that makes that happen. So
I call it something dirty because it spirals from the bottom to the top. So fill in the blank as your imagination would like.
I don't know what you could be talking about. Spiraling?
Claire were here, she would know.
So I can see now that I want to go a little bit thinner, which will allow me to pull up a little bit taller, which I think I want to do. But I also need to pull out further. So I'm hoping that I've got enough clay left in the bottom that I'll be able to push it out here and then bring it up so you can see I think you can see that I have a little bit of a curve there at the bottom, which is actually a really nice shape, but it happened to be the shape that I'm going for. Also, I'm a little wonky at the top. Again, that's because of the fact that I have lumpy clay.
Berger, do you need to go outside?
So what I did there was I pulled up. That's obvious. I'm taking this sponge. There's, I'm wetting my hands in between. So there's water on the inside. So what I do is if you leave water in there, it's going to cause the shape to collapse. So I go in with a sponge and I dry it and I compress the bottom so that the bottom will stay nice and solid. And then I come up and then the inside is fairly dry. And then I can just come up again. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little space here where you can see that torquing that I was talking about. And we're just not going to worry about that at the moment. I'll be using this in just a little bit. This is a pin tool. This is a especially cool pin tool because it's like a little switchblade kind of thing. Amy got it for me. I love it because I use this to carve the feet, which we'll see in just a little bit. And the pin is really good on it. The fact that it folds can be tricky if you don't think about which way everything is turning when you put the pin into it. But I haven't had a problem with that yet because one of my instructors was kind enough to mention it to me ahead of time. So I have yet to stab myself or have it fold in on me or anything like that. So that's pretty cool.
What I'm doing back here is I am wedging some, £1.25 balls of clay so that he'll actually have stuff that's been pre-wedged.
And then usually after I do the drying and compressing, I'll come up here to the top and I'll put my fingers on here so that I can make sure that it's turning in a nice circle, and I'll put my other finger on top of it to kind of even everything out and press the top. But as you can tell, probably this part of it is a little bit taller than the rest of it. So this is where I'm going to use my pin tool, and I'm going to feel along here where a safe place is to cut it off. And I'm going to put the pin tool in there, and then I'm just going to take the top off like that. Normally I would put that into my slip container, but I don't have a slip container. Whoops.
Wait. Hold, please. Your call is important to us.
You can also see that I kind of nudged it, and now it's all out of shape.
Tan spec slip. There you go.
But that doesn't matter because, as soon as I come up, I'll straighten all that stuff out. So I'm going to pull one more time, and then we're going to start shaping it.
Excuse the slammy noises over here. Sometimes you have to kind of beat it to make it behave.
No, you were supposed to keep the bass line going, baby. It's okay. We're good.
Oh,
they don't.
is the moment over?
The moment.
Okay.
the moment. The opportunity is behind us now.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to bring this gauge back in here and see how close we are to where we want to be. Whoa, but I'm going to knock it all over the place. This is my first time actually using a gauge, so it looks like we're. No, I'm going to need to do another pull. We're a little bit. No, we're about the right distance out. We just need to come up a little bit. Okay, and I've got some slip down here. Slip is actually slipperier than water, so it's.
That's why they call it that.
I don't think it is.
Why do you think they call it slip? Then? I don't actually know the etymology of all pottery terms.
Yeah.
I know that it's actually a myth that it's called throwing because of like slamming it down on the wheel.
Yeah.
I know that's not actually true, but I can never remember what the true origin of it is. It's like I don't know, Latin or Greek or something. But
I'm sure it has something to do with Caesar. I was pulling too fast there, and now I got a little lump. But we're still going to bring it up a little bit, and we're going to be just fine right here. We might have too much wobble.
This sort of beating and wedging that I'm doing over here is basically just working any hard lumps and air bubbles out of the clay.
All right.
Those can make it difficult to work with.
So the mugs that we're going to end up with, we want to be relatively straight-sided. I've got a couple of different tools that we use on the outside of the clay. I'm doing way more instructional stuff than I thought I was going to do. But so this is a metal, what we call a rib. This is rubber, so it has a nice bend to it, similar to the metal, but it's not quite as sharp's an obvious word, but the rubber doesn't draw as much of the moisture out of the clay as you use it, and it's way easier to, like, if you're using it around a piece, you can kind of adjust the curve on it. This is wood. I think probably my best bet is going to be to use the metal rib. The outside of that is kind of dry at the moment, so I'm going to actually even wet it a little bit. And I'm just going to push against it from the inside and get this all as smooth as I can.
Your dog.
A little bit pointy out now, which I don't like. So we're going to slow it down. The faster the wheel goes, the more the clay attempts to open up. So if you go slower, it's easier to kind of either curve it in or get it straight up and down. Obviously, I'm shooting for straight up and down. I'm not getting straight up and down, but I'm shooting for it.
Right behind you.
I'm going to try and curve it in with my hands here. It's called collaring, when you're kind of trying to draw the clay up. This is a really good way to torque it. If your hands aren't wet, my hands are pretty wet right now, so.
It's actually called an elevator pull. What you're doing there.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I learned that from Dante.
Dante is from Fire Nation Pottery. He does a lot of really Earth Nation Pottery. He does a lot of really good videos. Okay, bottom's being a little bit irritating there, so I'm going to actually use the wooden rib. See if I can't get in there and smooth that out. Oh, I can see the lump that's in there. That's neat. That's how we'll know where to put the handle so that we don't have to see it.
Wasn't that nice of it?
Yeah, if you have handmade pottery and you look at where the handles are, sometimes that's where the mistakes are. Because the handle will cover up a multitude of sins, as our friend Adam Savage would say. I'm gonna have to take another piece off of this.
There you are, dear. Now you have
Sweetie?
4 balls.
Well,
Good luck to you.
this is a bit of a disaster, but it was also the first piece that I'm throwing,
And it wasn't wedged.
and it wasn't properly wedged. Felt so good and smooth and solid on the outside, but it was not. So it's too short, but pulling it up is not going to work for me right now. So this is all just practice for a piece that will either allow me to test some glaze later, or possibly get crumpled up and turned back into a ball of clay for later.
Yeah, that's like the mantra is it's just clay.
Yeah.
If you mess it up.
I am gonna try carving a relatively simple foot with this. Just a little bit more difficult just because of the fact that it's already in there. There's a little trick that I learned last session is you can get all this little excess clay here with your pen tool. And then if there's any batches of it, you can just pull it away afterwards. Yeah, it's not an attractive attempt at all.
See, he says that, and I would be like, okay, that's pretty good. I can clean it up later. I can cover up stuff with surface design.
Amy is she is much happier to fix and post than I am. Fair to say?
Yes.
So, but I'm going to keep doing it the way that I would do it because
No, you do it.
Still
You
good practice.
Do the thing, man.
So you dry this little thing off.
I was saying that to praise you and illustrate how like that you are better at throwing than I am, because you feel like that's a disaster and I would be like, yeah, good enough.
Okay. And then we have these cool bats that have inserts, so I can just pick it up and let it dry like this without having to lift it off or anything like that. And we're going to pretend that I'm drying that off as if I'm going to do something with it later, but that is false.
Do you need another insert?
Oh, another insert would be lovely. Thank you.
This is we keep our bat inserts in this little bag, which used to be my son's disc golf bag. It was like the perfect the perfect size and shape for carrying a bunch of those bat inserts.
This one has a bunch of clay left on it. That would just cause problems.
That was probably me. Sorry.
It's okay. I still love you.
Okay, good.
All right. This is going to be a much better experience for me because Amy is much better at wedging than I am. So again, we're centering. We try to center going pretty fast because that allows any unevenness in the clay to smooth out in the turning. If you look now, you can kind of see my fingers are just popping all over the place. So what we're trying to do is we come up and try to smooth it out as we come up. And then we push it back down and try to keep it cylindrical as that happens. And you can see it's way more cylindrical than it was. Still got a bit of a wobble to it. I'll just keep doing that until it looks nice for us.
Oh, W says he loves your overalls.
So y'all are the first people outside of my class and the sandwich shop that we eat at before we go to class to ever see me in overalls. I didn't buy a pair of overalls until I was 54 years old, which is how old I am for the next 2 days.
I am a trendsetter. He was jealous of this
You
adorable
look way cuter than I do in your overalls.
Well, it's just a practical way to do it if you're going to be flinging clay all over the place.
Oh, cool. Yeah, there's almost always, some kind of a local place that'll do, so sort of community classes. And what we're currently doing is actually taking different classes from as many of the different instructors as are at our community center as possible, because they all say something different, and none of it's wrong. It's just like you just have to find what works for you.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways to do everything in pottery. So I've had 3 different instructors, and every single one of them has approached even the basics from a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
And like, not a single one of them opens up a piece of clay the way that I do, because I just have like this need to use my thumb to make the initial indentation there, because I feel like I can control it better.
Well, Geisha uses her thumbs, but she uses like
she uses both
thumbs.
of them, yeah.
Yeah.
But Geisha also has very small hands. All right, so I'm going to slow it down now because I'm going to try pulling it up. And again, the centrifugal force, if you're pulling it up and the wheel is spinning fast, the outside will try to open. And what I really want to do, if the last one that I pulled is any indication, is I want to do sort of a volcano shape, so a little bit wider at the base than it is at the top. So I am opening up on the inside here, and I'm trying to keep it as flat as possible. I'm failing, by the way. And then I'm going to pull up, but I'm also going to pull in a little bit. And I'm coming up slow because I'm turning slow. And I'm failing to keep going in at the top. So I may be turning the wheel just a little bit fast. But if you compare this to the last one that I threw, you can see already that just after that first pull, it's a lot smoother than the last one was.
So yeah, so that's what wedging does for you. So
so much.
Don't
smoother.
Skip that step. Yeah. Always wedge your clay.
Oops! And I just tapped the inside with my thumbnail, or the outside with my thumbnail. That's a bit of a disaster in there. Okay, cool. Turd. Okay. Groovy. Yeah, so there's a little nick that you can kind of see going right there. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can. You can see that far down. So there's a little tiny nick that's going past there that I just wedged out with my thumb. So I'm going to be careful when I go up over that when I do this next pull, because I want to go a little bit more just compressy there and hope that that goes away, which it feels like it probably did. I stopped there because my hands got too dry. Just got some of the wet clay that's on the bat there to smooth out the rest of the trip up here. Yeah, this is looking like it'll end up much nicer. A little bit of a swirl in there where I was compressing. Nothing that'll be ugly in the final mix. All right. Yeah, see, that's looking like I'm getting a lot closer to what I want to be doing up there. So I might just... That one's too big. These were also a gift from Amy. You'll notice this about a lot of my tools that I use a lot. Amy gave me a lot of the tools that I use a lot.
It's true.
Because she's awesome.
That's also true.
So if you were here for the last one, this one came up in like 3 pulls. It's pretty close to the size it needs to be. Am I right? Yeah, it's very close to the size it needs to be. Needs a little bit more straightening out, but not much. If you use a sponge on the inside, which a lot of people do every time they do this, it disperses the pressure a little bit more. So I don't know if you could see that got a little bit straighter there, but I usually use my hands because I like the feel of it. So I'm going to try and make this lip nice and smooth. The glaze does a really good job of smoothing everything out, but the glaze believes in gravity, so it frequently pulls away from the top. So you want it to have as smooth a surface as possible, because if the glaze is thin, you're going to feel the surface of the clay when you drink from it, and if it's sharp, then it's just not attractive.
Yeah, like we've all had experiences like that, right? Where you've had a mug, so, somewhere, maybe at somebody's house or something, that's got like a little extra chunk sticking out there.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's coming off into your drink or anything. It's just hitting your lip, and it's just not as nice.
Yeah. So you can see like it's nice, a little bit taller and considerably wider than this mug. It'll probably end up, after it's fired, being a little bit shorter because it's going to shrink by about 10%, which is really hard to gauge by sight, which is why I was using the gauge, because I just multiplied everything out because math. So that's essentially the size that we want. Now, I don't want the foot to go straight down because while I'm totally fine with that look for like this mug that was mass produced, I really like to have a little foot in there for the stuff that I do. And I wasn't as happy with the one that I did with the other side of my pin tool, which was this on that last one. Part of that was just because the last one was a bit of a disaster, but I'm going to try this one on this one, which is really kind of neat. So essentially you go in like a little snow plow, and then you can straighten it out a little bit. Yeah, that'll be high enough. You can press that clay back in a little, but more than that. Okay. Can I just do that with my finger? Erase that line? I can. Sort of. There we go. Getting just a little bit more clay over there, so I'll do this one more time. As pretty as could be. Okay. I actually wish this was a little bit thinner than it is, so I'm going to push it in a little bit further. I don't want to mess with this too much because the clay is getting dry. Yeah, you can see that foot is a little bit thicker than what I was hoping for. But that's okay, because my plan is to make, well, my original plan was to make about 20 of these, but I've come up with a glaze that I'm really excited about, so I may follow one of the, you know how like people who drive motorcycles will say you haven't really driven motorcycles until you crash. Apparently 50 mugs is what you need to get to be good at mugs.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have not done that, so I don't feel bad about the fact that my mugs still don't look great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I've gotten some shapes that I've really liked with mugs. But all the ones that I've gotten a shape that I liked, I haven't liked the glaze on. And I've got glaze on some really ugly mugs. Some beautiful glaze on really ugly mugs. That's not the one I wanted to use. This is the one I wanted use. So drying out all the moisture on the rest of this bat insert, because at least as much of it as I can get, because especially something like a mug or a bowl dries, because you've got this base at the bottom that's solid clay, it loses water much more slowly than the top, and that can cause stress issues within the clay. So you want the base to be as dry as possible, because the tops, where it's thin and everything, are going to come out, dry out much faster. Oh gosh, yeah, groceries are coming. Yay. So that is a much better look than that first mug that we did. So I'm just going to pop this up here. Then I'll do another one, and then I'll let Amy take over. There was a lot of very dry clay on that one. I'm usually pretty good about cleaning out my inserts, so that's why Amy was like, oh, that was probably me. This is I don't know if it's interesting or not, but you want some moisture on this so that the clay is able to, connect with that moisture and stick fast. But if you have too much, it'll just slip right back off. So that can be just a little bit of a trick to get the moisture right. I'm trying to get a little dry spot here so I have a target to look for. It's way off. Not a problem because it's not too heavy, but it's way off. Don't fight me. We're all working together here, Clay. You're still pretty off there. This is one of those things where centering is really important, but it's really hard to get it perfect. So you have to just get to a point where you have it right enough for the job that you're trying to do. If you're doing a bowl with 10 pounds of clay or something like that, you need to get it way more centered, because once you start coming out on the edges, any bit that you're off is going to be magnified a lot, which is also true with something the size of a mug, but it's not as big a difference. It's getting ready to go down there, but I could still feel it being a little bit off. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of looking at my thumb to see if I can keep it in the center. And if I can, I push it down a little bit, get a little divot, see if that works. Can you see the top of that at all? A little bit. So yeah, I've got this little circle there that's pretty well centered. So I'm just going to go down in the middle of that and try not to let it move my thumb around too much. As I get down towards the bottom, that becomes a little bit of a trick, because we have fingernails. I have fingernails anyway, most of them. And so that kind of digs in, and so that leaves me with something that I need to straighten out later. Oh, just grabbed a bunch with that phone. It's all right. All right. All right.
How's it going?
It's going all right.
We're on our third mug now, huh?
Yeah.
And see, here's the other difference. Like, I'd still be working on the first one. I'm slow.
Well, again, you're slow with throwing. If you're painting something, and I try to paint something, you're way faster than I am, and you come out with far prettier results.
Sam Lloyd says, potters who chew their nails. Upside, no nail marks in the bottom of the mug. Downside, crunchy clay in every bite. Ew. We try to do a fairly good job of keeping our nails clipped, but because of an incident years ago with a bloodthirsty table saw, Chuck doesn't really have a normal nail bed on one of his fingers, and so he can only cut that nail down so far, and it's still still a bit of a Yoda finger.
Fortunately, it's on my outside hand. Oh, there's a divot down there where my index finger found a little air bubble. I don't know if you're paying enough attention to notice or if it's even interesting, but the first two that I threw, I'm using my inside middle finger, and I was using this part of my knuckle when I was coming up for the first two cups, but on this one, I'm using just my index fingers together. Gives you a little bit closer of a feel. It doesn't allow you to pull up quite as fast because you can't manhandle the outside as much. But it's, ooh, I dropped the sponge in there. That's interesting. All right. And you can see I'm kind of mangling the outside lip right now, but that will come into alignment real easy when I come up with the next pull. The next and hopefully final pull on this one.
Oh, wow. Sam says, I have a student with only the first joint on the fingers of one hand. Looking forward to seeing him tackle throwing.
Wow.
I bet. That's really cool. Hi. Beauregard, what is your issue, sir?
Oh, man. Okay. So the bottom is okay now, but I did that again where I mangled the top a little bit, and I think I'm around where I want to be. Except for the fact that it's all wobbly. It is, I think it probably wants to come up a little bit more. So I'm going to do one more pull. Yeah, I'm going to do one more pull, and then I'm going to shape. And we'll hope I don't get too much liquid on the inside.
Oh, you et tu, Violet?
She wanting up on your lap now?
Yes. I can only hold so many puppies on a bar stool.
Okay. So again, I'm a little bit off center on that one, but we'll see. Let's see how it does. So I was saying, I think I'll probably do this mug and then let you take over.
Oh, okay.
If you're fairly ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Cool.
Put me in, coach.
Well, not yet. Still got some shaping to do. Oh, getting delicate at the top, and I don't like it. Press you down just a little bit.
The singing helps.
No, it doesn't.
I think it does.
All right. Now, it may look like there's a little bit of a wobble on there, but that's mostly just because there's a place where there's more water than there is elsewhere, which I would normally smooth out with a much nicer sponge than this. But why get one more thing wet when you're almost done? Yeah, that's fine. It's got a little bit of a curve in at the top.
But again, that'll be okay because of, you're going to put a handle on there. So it's not going to be perfectly balanced anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm more worried about the fact that if it curves in at the top, it won't feel as comfortable on the lips.
The lips.
All right. So I'm going to try the scooper again. Nope, that's not worth bracing myself against. So we're just going to come in. Yeah, this way. Yeah, that's better. For sure. Once it's smooth, it'll be better anyway. Stop it. If you're moving around. Okay. I just need to get that little snowplow mark out.
I see you sniffing, sir.
So the bottom's a little bit rough there. So I need to kind of go back and forth between the tool and this tool and the rib. Also called a kidney because it looks like a kidney bean, or maybe even like a real kidney, because kidney beans are called kidney beans because they look like a kidney, right?
I assume.
I'm not as happy with this one as I was with the last one, but it's all right. I'm not selling it or anything. So. All right. How are you looking down there? There's a couple of little rough spots, but there's a point where you cut your losses, and we have these really lovely sanding pads that we can use after it's been bisque fired that have diamonds in them, which means that they do a really good job of sanding things smooth.
Yes, aptly named Diamond Core Tools.
Because the core of the tool is diamond. Yeah, so
we should totally get like an endorsement thing for if we get more than 4 people on our stream.
Yeah,
we should see if we could get like an endorsement from Diamond Core Tools, because we'd be happy to endorse them.
Yeah,
they're awesome. Or Mud Tools for that matter. Mud Tools also awesome.
Mud tools are also awesome. However, we probably have $20 worth of mud tools and a lot more than that.
Well, yeah.
Ugh. All right, so I went in with the sponge because I noticed that the bottom was damper than I thought it was, and I could see that one of my fingers nicked the top. So look at me. I'm going back one more time to smooth out that top. This is one of those things where you want to catch that before it starts to dry out, because the clay will kind of tend to return to the shape that it was when it first started drying. People are very spiritual about their clay work, and so a lot of people will say, well, it has memory, and porcelain has better memory than other clays and stuff like that, which is not at all scientific, but it's absolutely true that those shapes kind of return.
Yeah, Sam, you should totally do Trash Can Raku.
Oh yeah.
It's really fun. Of course, smoke everywhere. Everyone just warn the parents or whatever that their kid is going to come home smelling like smoke, and it's not because they were smoking cigarettes. It's because you're firing stuff and setting things on fire in a trash can.
I'm going to leave you this towel to work with, but there are some things that I'm going to do before you take over, and I need you to step to the side because I need to deliver this to a shelf.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I'll continue on with this if
Yeah.
you want me to, and
Yeah.
but like, just stick around long enough to give me some direction on it. He's very kindly putting the stool back down where I like it because I'm short.
Well, and I actually want it down lower than that. No, that's where it was before. Yeah. I also like it at a little bit of an angle. So I angle it in a little bit like that. And Amy hates that.
I
So.
do not care for it. It hurts my hips to do that.
Well, and we don't want to hurt your hips. Do you want to use any of my tools, or should we just keep all that stuff separate?
I'll use your tools.
Okay.
That way, there's no sense in dirtying another set of tools.
Yeah, and you don't have to try to duplicate the mugs that I'm doing or anything.
No,
like
I
that.
want to. I want to see if I can. I want to see
Okay,
if,
so what I'm doing is I'm using those as spike marks, the pieces of tape. So when that goes there, the gauge is basically floating just above where the top of the mug should be, and also the edge.
Okay. And I have a insert piece.
Yeah, so I've used all of those tools. I don't want to leave anything sharp out.
All right.
All right.
Well, hello, Bronx Smash. Welcome. Welcome.
Oh, sorry,
one and all.
Beauregard. I didn't mean to step on you, but you were stupid. This is water, and I'm leaving it for you.
Oh, thank you.
This is a towel, and I'm leaving it for you.
Okay.
I mean, I'm basically leaving you everything that's still down here.
Right.
Do you want the mug for reference or anything?
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
leave it. I don't care.
Cool. Well, thanks for hanging out, even though it was just me, y'all. That was fun.
It wasn't. It was me, too.
Yeah, but
So now they get just me, because you're
Yes.
going to go away. Leave us. No, I'm kidding. Go.
Yes. We have actually called the bat, the bat that holds the mini bats Batman, but that doesn't make me Batman.
There's a dude who works as a studio assistant at the community center who is really, really good at throwing with porcelain. Brag. And I made the joke that, like, he was going to take over for toilets because he was good at throwing with porcelain, so he's the porcelain god. It's kind of silly.
Sam, you were asking about wet versus dry clay. We have, fortunately, being in a big city like Atlanta, we have a couple of different clay stores, that sell, wheels and clay and all that stuff. So our cost is roughly the same because we can just drive to the warehouse where it's sitting. The question is how long we want to keep wet clay around because, it gets cheaper the more you buy of it. But, 1,000 pounds of clay is too much.
Yeah, we don't have the space.
So we bought 100 this last time, and we haven't even gotten past the first 50 pounds yet, and we've had the wheel for 4 weeks up and running for 3 or 4 weeks.
Is that true?
3 weeks.
We haven't gone through the first 50 pounds? Oh.
That's the next 50 pounds.
Oh, okay.
The box isn't even open.
So, yeah, you guys who have been here long enough that you saw Chuck throwing, you'll notice I'm blower. I take my time with centering because I don't have it down pat the way that he does. I put some of that down to, larger hands, more upper body strength, that kind of thing. But also it's, some people are just naturally better at certain things than other people. Some people have to work at it a little bit. I have to work at it. And I'm happy to do that. Because, you know what? I have learned about myself is that I dig learning new stuff the mostest. And when I can learn anything, I am happy.
So, yeah, you'll notice my process is a lot slower and a lot less. It's slower and yet less precise than Chuck's. I don't know. He's just one of those people who's just freaking good at everything. Don't know what to tell you. I've noticed it too. But I'm cute. I'm cute while doing it, and it's fun. So that counts for something, right? Yeah. Okay. So now I've got that pretty well centered there. He also manages to not get nearly as much slip on him or in his water. I don't know how. Yeah, Sam, like it's similar for me. Like it was, yeah, like sometimes it just takes the right person showing you the right technique, and then something just clicks. And that's why we were saying the thing about different instructors at our community school, because literally all of them do like everything all different ways. And you'd think they were a council of rabbis or something. I don't know if y'all know this. I'm Jewish, and so there's a joke that's like, you know, if you put two Jews in a room, you'll have 3 opinions about any one topic. So, but yeah, same. I finally took a wheel throwing class with the instructor that I had been taking hand building with, and because I loved her and I loved her style of teaching, and I loved how invested she would get in our projects, you know. And so when I found out she was going to be teaching a wheel throwing class, I was like, oh, hells yes, I want to learn wheel from her. And yeah, like so much just clicked. But as I say, obviously still have a ways to go, but it's one of those things where it's often frustrating to see like someone who started at the literal same time as you doing things that are just objectively more impressive. But you know, that's cool. As I say, you know, he is not so into like intricate surface design as I am. I really dig doing things like sgraffito. So me and some of the other potters at the studio have talked about how, like, you know, there's people like Chuck who really enjoy throwing for form and like and stability, and then there's there's a bunch of us who like we throw stuff so that we have something to put designs onto. You know, I'm not quite. I'm somewhere in between, because like I do like a well thrown piece. It's, you know, I would like to get better at making well thrown pieces, but you know, that requires practice, which is what I'm doing. So there you go.
I'm trying to just compress this back down because I have gotten it off center, as I'm sure you can tell. And so I'm trying to just compress it back down to get it centered again. But it might just decide to fight with me, and that's okay. It's like, hey, you're not Chuck. I was promised Chuck. I would have been done by now. Yes, you would have, but nope, you get me. Sorry. Sorry, little inanimate hunk of clay. Sorry to disappoint you. Right. Yeah, exactly. Some people are just better at some things than other things, you know? It's just that is the spice of the soup, as they say. So I should slow this down because I'm pulling sides now. Whoops, slip goes there. Okay.
How's everything going? You need anything?
I don't know that I need anything. I need, a freaking exorcism to make me good at throwing mugs. This piece is off center and just does not want to be centered. It's like, no.
It happens. You put all the good center into the ones that I did. It's not bad.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's what it is. It was all my wedging. I wedged the good ones for you.
Thank you, sweetie. That was really nice.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
We'll just go with that. Goofball. Yeah, I always, when I'm trying to center, I always pull my arms into my hips here and put my whole body weight over, get right over the piece. So yeah, same. Because I definitely don't have the arm strength to try and center the clay with just my arms. I don't even lift, bro. Okay. This is looking a little bit more like a cylinder now. It's still wee. Trying to slowly lift the clay up into the sides and the body of the clay. Okay. This is the thing I always end up with is like, but I'll try and just compress the rim back down and schmirk that extra clay back down into the body of the piece. And then I just have to pull it back up, but, you know, hopefully pull it more evenly next time. No, please, by all means, be a chatterbox. It's cool. That is why I wanted to do the live streams, is so people would come and just hang out with me and chat, because otherwise I'm just down here literally talking to myself, because I will sit down here and talk, whether anybody's listening or not. If a Fraggle is on a stream and there's nobody watching, she still makes a fair bit of noise. So there you go. Yeah, see, so I've got a bunch of as Chuck would call it, torque. I, being the goofy, funny, somewhat inappropriate humorist I like to think of myself as, call it the dick vein. Thank you. Yes, thank you, dear. I do know that I can be chatty. I have the gift of gab, as my late Aunt Georgianne used to say. Oh, Sam, I have such a long TBR list. You have no idea. People suggest me books all the time. What's funny is I don't think that Scott or Brian actually read any of the books I recommend, but I know that other listeners do. So that's cool and worth it. I do wish that I could get Scott to read some Discworld stuff, because I think he would read it and then be completely hooked. But, you know, good luck. Good luck convincing Scott to consume media. If you figure that out, I'm sure Brian would like a word with you about getting him to watch Parasite. Yeah, it's true. Chuck will suggest me a book, and it takes me months to get to it. Which I just now realized that, like, my daughter told me I needed to read this book, and I immediately was like, okay, and went out and started reading. And Chuck's probably like, what the hell? I've been telling you to read Dirk Gently for months. I just told him myself. Yeah, funny. Yeah, so I thought about Sam Vimes. I actually think that, like, Mort and Reaper Man would be fun, just because, like, you know, like, kid, kind of wayward kid who doesn't really know what he's doing, and I don't know, that just feels like Scott's vibe to me. I do love some Sam Vimes, but you have to, I don't know, I feel like you have to kind of know that Sam Vimes is going to be better later, you know, like, because, like, it, you know, Guards opens with him in a, you know, drunk as hell in a gutter, right? Like, so, I mean, but
solid choice. Like the guards books are wonderful. Like I only read one of them that I didn't really enjoy. It was one of these later ones, so it wasn't great. Which I hate saying that, but it's true. I didn't dig Snuff. I thought Snuff wasn't really my jam. It's nowhere near tall enough, Amy. Okay. All right. Let's go, you coward. If it falls apart, it falls apart. Yes, Night Watch, by far one of the best books in the entire of Discworld. Certainly the best guards book. I think my personal favorite of all time of the Discworld novels has got to be Thief of Time. I love it. I love it so much. I love the idea of there being kind of an explanation for why time sometimes feels like it passes super quickly versus passes really slowly, and it's because there's like time monks in a temple somewhere that are spinning years and hours and minutes onto a spool. Like I don't know. It's just that visual to me is just lovely. I love it. It's wonderful. And I also, I love the whole story. The idea of time giving birth to twins and then they're, it's cool. It's good stuff. Good multiverse-y kind of awesomeness with the irreverence and hilarity of Terry Pratchett. Plus Susan. Anything with Susan, automatic hurrah. Which is why I love Hogfather. Because Susan. Like anybody who any woman who is like has the gumption enough to like mouth off to her grandfather who happens to be death. I mean, come on. That's awesome. Whoa, what'd I do? I made it mad, y'all. The more I try and pull this up, the more I just misshape it. Oh, the Tiffany Aching books are so lovely. They're so good. And Shepherd's Crown is the last book. So you're not wrong there, but also the books themselves are all so lovely. Don't sleep on them just because you don't want to say goodbye to all your Discworld friends. I promise it's worth it. Shepherd's Crown is not great. I'm not gonna lie, but it's not awful. It's not Rincewind. I hate Rincewind. I'm sorry if you like Rincewind. Like cool, go enjoy. Not gonna yuck your yum or anything. It's just I don't enjoy it. I feel like he really. I mean, even Sir Terry Pratchett when he was still with us, recommended that people start reading at Mort, because he didn't feel like he'd really had gotten his mojo going well enough when he wrote Color of Magic and The Light Fantastic. So, you know, do with that information what you will, but yeah, there are some holes in the story in Shepherd's Crown because I think his illness was really starting to get to him a little bit. Yeah, too much downward pressure. Yes, I noticed. I noticed it made the wheel very angry. All right, did I even get any closer? No. No, I did not. Okay, well, Chuck, looks like you're pulling all these mugs because I apparently can't do it with this amount of clay. Without just completely dorking it up like that. You see that big old bubble in there? Hey, I tore it up. Cool. All right, well, that's cool. I mean, it's time to cut it in half and see what Amy did wrong. That's always fun. All right, bye. Thanks for coming to hang out with us. Sam, appreciate you. I mean, this doesn't look too bad to me, but it just gets thin. It gets thin like up toward the top. Like you can see right in here is where I stop. I stop pulling properly. Oh yeah, Sam, that's become like my favorite thing to do is cut it in half. Because I'm like, okay, cool. This isn't gonna be a piece I want to save and do anything with. So let's cut it up and learn from it. I love it. I love doing that. I mean, even if it does come out the way I was shooting for, if I'm not making it for some specific purpose at this point, we've got so much pottery sitting around that I'm like, nope, I'm not getting attached to any of these pieces. It's all just practice. So there we go. There you go, Mr. Zero. Have some clay. All right. I got one more ball sitting over there. Let's see what we can do with it. Yes, someone else start chatting. Start chatting in here. At some point, I would like to do a thing where the camera is actually mounted up here, so you guys can see from like a POV kind of thing. Because there's a really cool illustration that one of my instructors did. And the reason that you want to pull when you're pulling the walls up and you're moving the clay up and down, the reason you want to move slowly when doing that is because if the wheel is spinning, right, and you take a sponge or whatever, take some clay, and then you get like this spirally thing. You don't get concentric circles, right? Whereas if instead you start in the middle and slowly move out, then the circles are concentric
and you don't get spirals, you get larger and larger circles, which is what you want with a round piece, right? You want all the surfaces of your piece to be the same thickness. So anyway, that was kind of a cool little lesson to share. I know I already wedged this and beat it together, but I'm going to do it again. La 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 la. Okay, so this is our last piece before I'm gonna say bye-bye. I won't ask you guys to stick around for the cleanup process. It's not exciting. And doesn't take place in here. Mostly doesn't take place in here where the camera can see it anyway. Yeah. A few love taps indeed, Chuck. There we go. I wonder if Scott got back from his doctor's appointment and everything. Hope everything is okay and that the doctor's office was just running behind. Not that there were issues that had to be addressed or anything. Guess we'll probably out on Monday. To me, this is like this is the most meditative part of the process. It's just like, I don't know, it's almost like you're introducing yourself to the clay. Being like, hello. I am getting both myself and this clay centered right now. Come, clay. Join me in my journey to become centered. And this clay says, nay! And so then it must be squashed. See, that looks like it's centered, but it's not. And it can't fool me.
Okay. This feels much better. And I'm still going to take it down nice and slow. Make sure it stays that way. Ooh, popped a couple air bubbles there. That's good. Maybe that's what it was telling me. It was like, I have some air bubbles. I'm gassy. Please give me a good burping. So what's everybody's plans this weekend? People have to, go call or visit their dads or whatever. That is much better. Much, much better centered. Sorry for that noise. Oh yeah, tonight Chuck and I are going to go see The Play That Goes Wrong over in Lawrenceville. So if you live in Metro ATL and want to check that out, we will be there. I don't know if there's any tickets for tonight or not, but I'm sure there probably are. We will be doing other creative-y things most of the weekend. We're having some friends over for a brunch get-together tomorrow to brainstorm and discuss a puppet show that we want to do. Oh, cool. Yeah, getting back together with D&D groups. That's cool. I miss my gaming group, man. Like I have a regular women's gaming group that gets together on like the second and fourth Thursday of the month, but we have not met with we haven't had a game with all of us there in several months, and it's a bummer. I don't like it. So I would really like my gaming group to get back together, but I mean, I get it. One lady's got small kids, and she's dealing with
the whole joint custody, bouncing kids back and forth thing, and which I totally get. Been there, done that myself. One of us travels a bunch for work. One lady is expecting her first child, so I'm sure that puts a damper into when she actually feels like sitting and gaming for several hours. So, I get it. It's still a bummer. I still miss them. I miss my ladies. Hey, Leslie. How's it going? I'm going to make Chuck cringe. I'm going to do this thing he doesn't like to do, but I do it. Cool. All right. I am using my pen tool there to check the bottom of my piece to make sure that it's not too thick. And Chuck doesn't like doing that because you do run a bit of a risk of trapping moisture in the hole, which can cause you to get S cracks and stuff like that. So, but I find that as long as after you've opened the piece up, you go back and take out the excess moisture and compress the clay back down into the bottom, which I do like between every pull. I find that it's better to do that than to end up with, oh, look at that, it's not a mug anymore, it's a tiny planter because there's a hole in it. Or the opposite problem, which I often have because I am afraid of accidentally. I'm afraid of accidental planterism. I tend to have way too much clay on the bottom that I've just left there. And that I could have pulled up into the sides, gotten more height, etc., etc., etc. Yes, I know. I just said that. I'm going to compress it. I'm going to compress the clay into the hole. I get it. Sir. Do-do-do-do. Boop-a-dee. Boo-boo. Yeah. That's about good width. For some reason that is yet unknown to me, I still like doing my first pull with my fingers, and then I move to the sponge. I still don't get why I do it that way when I don't just stick with one or the other. But I don't know what to tell you. That's what I do. What am I making? I am attempting to make a mug to match some of the mugs that Chuck made earlier. He made like 3 in like half an hour. I've been sitting here for 40 minutes and have succeeded in making a mess. So, yeah. But we'll see if we can't get this one to behave and become a mug. All right, damn it. So, Chuck, help me. I just pulled once. This is what happens every damn time. Hearing footsteps. Possibly might be responding to my summons. I don't know. So this is what starts to happen every time as I start pulling the sides, and then it gets up to about here and it starts to go wonky and everything gets too thin.
Oh, I didn't see it.
What do you mean you didn't see it?
I couldn't see it well enough. So probably either you're so are you using the sponge on the inside or the outside?
The outside.
Okay. Oh, well, that's weird. Yeah, you can see that this goes all the way through. So
What do you mean that it goes all the way through?
like there's a where that scar is there's a matching one on the inside.
Okay.
So you pushed all the way through with whatever you were pushing with. So you want to draw, I don't know if there's enough. Well, you've got a bunch on the base here, so you can draw some of the stuff from the base up there and try and compress it together. You might have gone through an air bubble. Here's where the magic might happen.
What's happening? See? What? I didn't even change anything. You started saying that, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to stay here. And then that happened.
I don't know. It feels like it might be too wet, but
I have been drying it out like the whole time.
yeah, that's probably, I would, if I was going to try and fix it, I would try and use the sponge on the inside and press up against a rib on the outside. But it's looking like it might not do it, but if you could pull it off, it would be awesome. And if you can't, then it's still practice. Slow it down now a little bit. There you go. I'm in your light now. Yeah, that lump there is fighting you. Yeah, it got too dry on the outside and then torqued it more.
You told me it was too wet.
Yeah, the clay itself is too wet, but then it got more friction on the outside as you were using the rib. I think it's time to say for, well, to that. Do you want me to grab you some more clay?
Sure, if you want. Does the sponge need to be soaking wet? No. In fact, it's usually best if it's not. It's a careful. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing, Leslie. Is it's like
This is one that you've already wedged into a nice cylinder.
Okay.
It's big, but you know.
how
Give yourself
much does it weigh? It's a careful balance between to get just the right amount of water.
3 1/4 pounds.
Okay.
But throw it down there and
throw it.
play with it. Wait, which way is the spiral? Yeah. This way. If it starts falling apart on you, flip it over.
Ooh. Man, this clay is hard. Okay. This is gonna be fun. So yeah, like when it misbehaves like that, yes. Beating the crap out of it and just slamming it down onto Mr. Zero over here. It is indeed satisfying. And that's the whole thing, is like it's just clay. And just because it didn't become something beautiful or something usable this time doesn't mean it won't ever, because I'm gonna package all that up after I'm done and reclaim all that clay. So yeah, I mean, you just keep throwing until you get something you like. That's also satisfying. Just nice big heavy lump of clay. Just so for anyone who just joined, God, I hate it when that happens. So what just happened was I was centering, and as you can see, it's not attached to the wheel. So now I gotta go back and do it again. Okay. Now you want to actually have dry hands for this part of the process so that the clay is gonna stick to the wheel instead of your hands right here. And so you're not like taking a bunch of slip off in the moisture of your hands. Okay. So here we go. Let's try this again, shall we? All right. So now I'm just gonna work all the way around. Try and make sure that it's really got a good seal on the bat there. Let's see if I can do something with this.
So right now, what I'm doing is called coning up. I'm just going to try and work this bad boy into the center. As much as I can. So trying to look at all of this like it's all good practice. When did I first start and what piqued my interest? So I have been interested in doing pottery for a really long time. I just never had the initiative or the opportunity to do it. So when I started was about this time last year. Chuck and I decided that as an anniversary present to ourselves, or to each other, that we would go take a pottery class over at the Community Arts Center. And as fate would have it, it was our 9th anniversary last year. And the traditional 9th anniversary gift is, in fact, pottery. So that was just a happy accident. We were doing it anyway, but it just became a fun part of the story. So, yeah, so we started taking classes, and I went to the first class, and I couldn't do a damn thing. I couldn't get the clay to center. I couldn't do anything. It was like the clay was throwing me around, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. And I was so frustrated, I thought I would cry. And meanwhile, Chuck has this lovely little teeny cylinderlet that he did. And, but I didn't want to give up on it because I felt like, this could be a really cool, creative, artistic thing that we can do. I just gotta kind of stick with it. So I started going every opportunity I had to go to the Community Arts Center. When they had open studio time, I would sign up for a wheel and just go in there and just play with the clay. And then I wasn't getting a whole lot better. Like I still felt like my pieces that I was throwing on the wheel were just garbage. And I did eventually get to where I could produce a piece at least, but they weren't very good. And Chuck is just getting better and better. Perfectly centered, beautiful pieces. And so I decided, maybe I'll just take a little break from doing wheel for a little bit, and maybe I'll try out hand building. But I didn't want to lose whatever skills I had gotten already. Yeah, I know. The sound it's a thing. That sound goes away once I get it centered properly because there shouldn't be anything slip, slap, slip, slapping. But until you get it that way, it does kind of sound a little dirty. But
But anyway, yeah, so I decided, okay, I'll take a wheel class and a hand building class at the same time. And I absolutely fell in love with the instructor for the hand building class, and the way that she taught, the way that she was invested in our projects. I'm not trying to throw any shade toward my first instructor. Some people do much better with kind of a hands-off approach at first. Like, hey, just let me dork around with this for a minute and then I'll get it. Just show it to me once and then let me faff around some and I'll figure it out, right? That's not me. I need much more hands-on, like precise, this is where you're going wrong. This is where you're fighting with the clay. This is where this isn't your fault at all, but you got a bad batch of clay, that kind of thing, which happens. So I found out that she was actually teaching a wheel throwing class. And so I said, okay, well, that's what I need then. If she's teaching wheel throwing, I bet that's going to break through a bit of a difficulty spike that I'm having right here, just to put it in kind of gamer terms. And sure enough, yeah, like that, taking a class with Yesha on the wheel made a huge difference in both in the quality of the pieces I was throwing, but also like just knowing when I do something wrong, knowing what it is I did wrong, which like nothing, and Chuck can vouch for this, nothing pisses me off quite like failing at something and having no idea why I failed at it. It's fine if the thing falls apart or whatever, and I can go, "Yep, that's what I did. Whoops, need to not do that again." I can't learn from the failure unless I know what lesson I'm learning. So I can get really frustrated with, feedback that's like, well, I don't know. Maybe you had too much water. Maybe you had not enough water. Maybe it was this. Maybe it was that. That doesn't help me, and it frustrates me. If I know, okay, you're squeezing too hard here, and that's what's causing your issue, that I can work with, right? Like that I can practice and work to correct it. And that is the type of thing that Yesha is really good at, is she will literally come over and sit at the table right next to you, watch you throw, watch you pull your walls or whatever, and tell you, okay, here's where I see a thing that might be causing your issue. And she will look really closely and tell you, okay, right there, that what you're doing with your fingers or whatever is what the issue is. Whereas some other instructors are just like, just play with it some more. Just practice, you'll get it. Like that's not instructing. That's not teaching me anything. If I'm continuing to do
the same thing over and over and over again, and I don't know what mistake is causing it, and there's no way for me to know that because I don't have the knowledge. More practice is only gonna give me muscle memory for a bad habit, you know? So, yeah. This big old lunk of clay is a bit bigger than what I usually throw, and it's mighty hard. Like, it's very firm, so it's kind of fighting me on everything. I do not have a kiln yet, David. We have talked about it, but like we just got our wheel, and we got a really nice expensive wheel. So, and you know, my son's going to college in a couple of months, so the kiln might just have to wait for a little while. But we have thought about doing like a backyard raku situation, which would be kind of fun as long as we manage to not burn the house down or run afoul of an HOA Karen, of which there are a few in our neighborhood. So yeah, to fire our pieces, we're still taking classes over at the community center, so we just fire our pieces over there, and we use the same types of clay. Like we know where they get their clay supplied from, because one of the studio assistants actually works at the pottery supply store that supplies their clay. So as long as we use the same types of clay that they do, they're fine with it. And see, this thing is also way off center, but I'm just gonna keep manhandling it and see if I can work it into submission. Getting a lot of slip off of it. Running into lots and lots of little hard chunks and things like that. Making a giant mug now. I will if I wind up making anything out of this, it will probably either be like a large bowl or maybe, you know, I might try and throw it into a closed form and make it into another lidded jar. I don't know. I'm just into lidded jars right now. Yeah, see, there's definitely a lot of hard chunks in this guy. Whew. Looks like a sugar bowl we have as a kid. Yeah, I mean, this is like solid right now. Like this whole chunk is solid. So it would not, this would not survive in the kiln right now because I'm certain that there are air bubbles and just way too much extra moisture and whatnot going on with this big hunk of clay. Yeah, so you can feel that little hard chunk in there. I'm trying to just massage it out almost, you know. Just see if I can encourage it to come out. And if you guys haven't seen, I posted a new video this morning of the process I'm in the middle of with the bee mug, or not bee mug, the bee jar. So yeah, go check that out. It's fun. I actually found a kind of a EDM or hip hoppy version of Flight of the Bumblebee called Breakdance of the Bumblebee to use as bed music for it, which I thought was really fun. So yeah, go check that out. It's just as proof that I can actually throw a thing. Yeah, mash that like and subscribe, Leslie. Ding the bell. You can ring my bell. One of the ladies that's in my class on Wednesday likes to comment about how much patience I have. And it's hilarious to me because I don't feel like I do. I'm like, I don't have any patience. But she's not wrong, because I will sit here and like work at this until either I give out or the clay does, you know. So never surrender. Come on. All right. Chuck says I wedged this hunk of clay, so I guess if it's not nice and smooth, then I have really not anybody to blame but myself. But I don't know if that's true, if I wedged it or not. But it was certainly wedged. But I don't know if it was me who did the wedging. It's possible. Yeah, it might be some you brought back from class, Chuck. Because I don't know, over 3 pounds doesn't feel like a weight that I would typically go after. I'm usually like right around 2.5 pounds. but you know, it's possible. I have tried. I have a. I have errantly tried going for heavier weights before. And as firm as this clay is, I wouldn't be surprised if it had been sitting there a while. So. Ah! Okay. Fingers. You guys are fired. At some point, I'm going to get brave enough to try the thing where I try to throw a cylinder blindfolded. And that'll be fun to just see how well do my fingers understand what they're feeling versus what my eyes are seeing, you know? Sometimes people find they get better results, which is okay, cool. So throw with your eyes closed then, you know. God, the wall is just so thick. I don't want it that thick. It's crazy. I need to open this up more. Okay. I like how YouTube is recommending my video to me right now. I'm like, yes, I've seen it, YouTube. Thanks. I saw it before you did. Okay. I'm going to try and go nice and slow here. So, Chuck, if you can watch me, see if you spot something. If you're still watching. If not, it's fine.
that pole just like, look at how much slip I got off of that. It's crazy. That's cool, Leslie. So right about here is usually where things start going wrong for me. Okay. Pushing the first instead at the top of the sponge. What? Those are all words. I don't understand what that means. It looks like you're pushing the first instead at the top of the sponge. That I can't translate that. I'm sorry. Pushing inward instead at the top. Okay. Okay, so that's part of a thing Yesha actually recommended that I do. To keep like my rims from getting so wonky is like up toward the top, like, you know, kind of roll it over and then compress the rim like that. I don't know if that's what you meant or not. I'm still not quite sure that I'm getting what you're saying there, but
Okay. So I've got a good groove at the bottom of the piece here. Sponge looks like it's further in than the space above it and below it. Okay. But isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing? Like I'm applying the pressure with the sponge? I expect it to be farther out below the sponge. Okay. Okay. All right. Fine, I'll use my finger and you can tell me then. See, now I'm at this point again where I feel like I'm just pulling and pulling and pulling, but all I'm doing is pulling, getting, taking slip off of it. I'm not really getting any height, but maybe I will in a minute. Maybe I just have to wear this guy down or something. That looked better to me, like this, that, with my fingers, or the one I just did with the sponge. feel like I have so much less control when I use my fingers. It's funny. There was a lady who was at open studio hours last weekend. She's there just about every weekend, and she was talking about some of the like ultra green, wet behind the ears beginners that were in her class that she was taking, and they were asking like, well, why do I have to center it? I'm like, well, okay, because you want it to be, you're making round pieces, you're working on a wheel, so if you want it to be uniform thickness all the way around, it has to be centered. Okay, well now I've coned it up, but I want to make a tall piece. Why can't I just open it up from here? Why do I have to smush it back down? Because that's part of the centering process. You have to get all of the body of the clay centered, not just the top. But I don't know. To me, I feel like at that point, I would say, give it a try. Like if you want to try, opening your piece up straight away after you've coned it up, try it, see what happens. It'll be nothing but a learning experience. That person will real quick find out why they need to compress it back down and then pull it back up after it's opened. So I don't know. I just found it kind of funny that it was so illustrative of how different people learn differently, and the questions they ask, like, hello, Lucky Phil, from the other side of the globe. But yeah, I think it's cool, like how other people's minds work differently. So, but a lot of that stuff, like, why wedging is important, why centering is important, why, coning up and compressing back down, why all those steps, what they're doing, like what is the clay doing And why are they important to the process? I don't think it's bad for somebody to be asking those questions. I do think with, you know, a, with a large class of people with varying degrees of ability, I think it's a better use of time to dig in and do what the instructor's saying in that moment while you have them and you have their attention, and you can get feedback from them, and then go do research on Google. Go watch YouTube videos, man. There's a ton of them. It's tons of potters who know what they're doing, which is not me, but I know what I'm doing. What I'm doing is having fun, and I'm learning new things. So yeah, I am not the person that will be able to instruct you. That is Dante from Earth Nation Ceramics or Florian Gadsby. Any of those folks. Third floor pottery is third floor is more like sort of Zen ASMR to watch him work. He throws with like really large amounts of clay. And it's really impressive. He does like time lapse, highly edited videos also. So it's like it goes from a lump of clay to big giant 5-foot urn in like 30 seconds. But like I say, it's highly edited and all of that. So okay, I need to know, what is the difference between a cockatoo and a cockatiel? I know that there is one, but I don't know the difference. I don't know what. Yeah. So learn me on that, because that is a thing where I'm like, I don't understand the difference. I know they're both really high maintenance birds. I know that. I mean, all birds are high maintenance. Birds are just high maintenance animals. Man, they live longer than us. Like, what should happen in the event of your death? What should happen to your bird is a thing that's like in all bird owners' wills, because like the bird is most likely going to outlive you. So like that's a bigger commitment than having kids even. Cockatoos are huge and usually all white. Cockatiels are small and mostly gray and yellow. Cockatoo is a bigger bird, typically white with yellow crest. Cockatiels, smaller bird, similar to a budgie. Okay, yellow head, red cheek, small crest. Okay. I got you. So like, Chuck knows when I say this. The guy who the late R. Thomas, outside of his restaurant in Atlanta, has very large birds. And at least one of them, it sounds like it was a cockatoo, because it was like big white, yellow crested bird. He also had like a macaw and some just big exotic birds. And as I mentioned, sure enough, the birds outlived him, so he had to write it into his will. How the birds were to be taken care of after he passed. And they're still there. They live at the restaurant. Like they live in large cages outside the restaurant. And there is a staff member there full time to take care of those birds. They're beautiful birds. Yeah, just I can see like wanting to have something like a canary or like a budgie or lovebirds or whatever, little cute birds. But those big ass birds, I cannot imagine, like, because they are high maintenance, man. I say as I have like the most needy ass chihuahua on the planet right now. He's worth it though. He's super cute. And I'm sure that people who own the big birds I'm talking about also feel like they are worth it because they love them, which is not my cuppa. Nor is having like a snake really. Like I used to have a family member who had a pet boa constrictor, and I never quite understood the appeal because it's not like they're cuddly, I'm not like afraid of snakes. I have a healthy respect for snakes. Like if I see a snake in the wild and I don't know what it is, I'm like, I'm gonna give you your distance because I don't know what you are, I don't know if you mean me harm. So I'm just gonna steer clear. You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone, kind of thing. But yeah, so I'm not afraid of snakes or anything, but I don't really get the appeal of having a pet snake. I also don't like the idea of a pet that I have to feed other pets to it. Know what I mean? Oh, you have a snake? Yeah, I mean, African greys are awesome. They're amazing, beautiful creatures, these big birds. They are beyond my skill and desire to take care of, honestly. Like that's what it really boils down to. So yeah, you have a snake. So did you feed it like live mice? I'm not like judging you or anything because I know that is the circle of life, man. That's the way it works. I get it. It would just make me. I've seen a snake feed before, and I feel so sorry. Oh, small frozen mice. Okay, yeah, I have seen people feed their snakes live mice. And I just, again, I know it's the natural order of things and all that, and I feel so bad for the little mouse. It's sad. But I mean, I would feel bad for the snake too if the snake went hungry. It's also very weird to me that like you can like control their growth by how much you feed them. You know what I mean? And like, like if you got like a corn snake or a boa or whatever, and you don't want them to get too big, you just moderate how much they
how many times you feed them. That's weird. You know, I'm like, doesn't the snake just like get hungry and gets kind of pissed off that you're not feeding it as often as it would like? You know, like that to me is weird because like our dogs, man, they let us know. In fact, they're probably already, yeah, it's after 3. Our dogs are totally freaking out about the fact that it's close to time for them to get fed. I've been nursing this one piece for like an hour. Chuck made like 3 pieces in like 30 minutes. Was like, all right, I'm good. I'm done. Ugh. So you have to defrost the mouse and then, ew, just ew. It's a too much. It's too much for me. Ain't good. I don't need in my life. I don't know why I'm doing that weird voice, but it just felt it. It felt like that in the moment. As Ibbot would say, it's too much hassle. I don't know if I'm ever going to get any decent height out of this. Oh, goodness. Hat Ibbot's onto something. Well, it's certainly stout enough for a stein. That's for sure. Lordy. The walls are like an inch thick. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is the thing I need to try and work on getting better about not doing, is getting this where I'm like higher on one side than the other. It's annoying. Well, I think actually, Leslie, what I'm going to do, since I've got plenty of thickness that I can work with here, I think what I might start trying to do is encourage it outwards and make like a straight-sided bowl. Where's my rib? Oh, there it is. Okay. So start. Flattening this out here. It's time. It's my Rammstein cover band. Du hast mich. Doesn't that song mean like I hate you or something like that? Like, oh, you hate me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Du hast mich. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. So what I'm doing now is I'm basically using my rib tool over here to try and encourage the walls of the piece to come outwards. And it gives me a straight edge to kind of push against. Hey, that looks terrible. All right, cool. I can feel where it's, uneven and wobbly and just basically just fighting with me. And it's really annoying, and I kind of want to like put it in a timeout, send it to its room, make it think about what it's done. Ugh. Okay. So the clay in this, yeah, this is some very angry emo business going on in that song. The clay that's up here in the top, I don't know if you guys can see, but like right here, let's see if I can turn it there. Yeah, so see that right there? There's like a little hard mass right there. It's like it's got a tumor or something. So yeah, that's causing issues. And then some other parts have like air bubbles, stuff like that. So it is okay, but you know what you do with the tumor? Cut it out. So that's what I'm gonna do. Going to cut off yon tumor. Okay, so let's see. Let me find. Okay, that is where the piece that I want to
get rid of is really a problem. So, there we go. Ta-da! Up here. God, this stream has lasted forever. That's because Chuck started it, and then I just going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny, refusing to give up and recognize that today is not my day for throwing something successfully. My head in the way. Can you still see? I can legit feel the air bubbles and stuff in this. Like, this clay was not well wedged. What I should have done was cut it in half, and then I would have been able to see all the little artifacts in there and work them out before I threw. But too late now. And again, it's just clay. Well, I mean, so artifacts can also, they don't necessarily have to be, useful or meaningful things. Like, I think an artifact is legit like a man-made object. So thus an artifact that is in the clay would be some kind of bubble or misshapen glob of grog that's hanging out in the clay, just waiting for some unsuspecting potter to come along and try to tell it what to do. It's me. I'm the unsuspecting potter. See, I don't get it. I don't get how I'm always like thicker on one side. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, I'm throwing really slowly. I'm out over the piece. I'm making sure I pull with even pressure. And most of the pressure is on my outside hand. Inside fingers are just there for support, to make sure the clay doesn't fall in on itself. And then I still get that.
is really annoying. It's funny you say that, Leslie. There is actually there's a town in Scotland. I think it's in the Orkneys called Harray, which is like Harray, and their little shop is called the Harray Potter. It is true. Okay. So, all right. Decision time here. Well, that's an interesting way to use that little tool. So you can kind of see where, if I turn it slowly enough, you might be able to see. I don't know if you can or not. There's like a little line right here where the little measuring little anchor calipers, I don't know what they're called, touched this side. So you can tell that's where it's super uneven. But yeah, I don't know. I know that there is a way for me to thin that back out and work it back down into the body. And like you can see the, like, if you look at the rims of the cups that I made for Scott and Brian, with like the little 8-bit TMS logo guys on them. They, you know, they have rims that are all wonky like this. But I mean, in that case, it was like I sort of embraced it because it was like, okay, well, for this, that makes sense, you know. Yeah, if you see that little line, that's where the little height thing, the little height gauge thing touched it, and then other places where it didn't, and that means it's uneven. Which basically means that there's more clay on one side than the other, but I don't know why. I don't know why it keeps happening. I need to figure it out and stop. Whatever it is I'm doing, I need to stop doing it. Makes it more authentic. Yes, it's definitely a hand-thrown piece. It is definitely not machined. All right, I'm gonna give this guy one more chance to become a thing, and then I'm calling it quits because I've been sitting down here for way too long already. I gotta take a shower and get dressed, because we're going to the theater this evening. Going to go see The Play That Goes Wrong. Which I am made to understand that it is very similar to, like, if Monty Python did Noises Off. So it should be
a fun time for all. I hope. I hope it's the best darn show I've ever seen. I had a coach in high school once who used to tell us that quality is not an accident. I quite like that. Like if you make something, or I mean, if you do something well that you're proud of, it is not a fluke. It means you have the ability to do it. No. Practicing enough to be able to repeat it is the big thing. What am I seeing? Oh, we're seeing the play that goes wrong. So, I mean, I could just do the thing again where I just cut it off. You know, I just cut off the top of it. It's not even. But that annoys me because, like, I shouldn't keep having to do that over and over again. I should be able to fucking throw a thing that isn't all uneven like this. What the hell? What am I doing? Why is it always that way, like that?
Wow, that's a lot of lag. Hold on. It seemed like you were pretty centered on the outside, so I guess when you
Opened it.
The opening itself wasn't centered, probably.
I don't know. Yeah, right. Like you feel. I think it sounds like fun too. I'll be sure. I will report back. So there's also a school of thought that if you get a piece like this and it's just super wonky, just embrace the wonkiness of it. Make it a slant piece. You know, I could put a handle on it and make it into like a pitcher or something. Or I could just cut it in half and give up.
You're looking at me like you think I should make the decision.
I do.
No! I don't want to make the decision. I don't know. Do you like it?
No.
Does it make you happy?
No.
Then crunch it.
No, it makes me angry because it's...
Well, then fuck
like
it.
I fought with it for an hour and it can't be bothered to do anything, which of course it's it's my fault, but
No, I blame the clay. No, wait, I blame the person who probably actually wedged it. That's me.
you don't know that it was you who wedged the clay.
Well, I said probably.
Okay. Go wonk, go bronk. That's funny. Okay.
Peel it apart. Let me see.
So there we go. You can see the cross section of it had a pretty thick bottom going on there. Yeah. So I was right to keep trying to pull up from the bottom.
Probably out too.
Yeah.
You probably could have pulled further out and then up.
And but this side is thicker than this side
by a lot. Yeah. So when you opened it up, it was off center for sure.
Yeah, I guess.
So yeah, there's more clay on that side.
That's what it looks like. The cross section.
So you can even it out by just putting this on this way.
Oh, why didn't I think of that?
Because it won't work.
Oh, right. That's it. Okay. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for hanging out with me. I'm sure I've had like a rotating audience for a little bit because I cannot imagine anybody has been on the stream for 3 hours. It's too much for me. So yeah, here's my wonky half a bowl. So yeah, I will successfully make something again one day. In the meantime, be on the lookout with the next few days. Keep your fingers crossed that the bee jar is in the kiln now, or rather, it's on the shelf to be put in the kiln. I don't know if it has been yet. So yeah.
Yeah, they had something scheduled to go in on Friday, so I don't know if it was a glaze thing or a.
Whoop. Not gonna lie, I'm nervous for it. So, yep.
We need to get pictures of the last couple of classes worth of stuff too. We'll put them up somewhere. Flickr or whatever.
Well, yeah, you keep saying that that's what you should do. You're the one with the fancy camera.
Yeah, I'm also the one who needs to hang the light up and all that stuff too. There's a lot. There's so much to do. And so many puppies that weigh so much.
Oh, is that what's been happening? You went upstairs and laid down with the puppies?
Well, I was trying to keep an eye on the feed, and then I was like, and then the puppies. Yeah.
That's cool.
Violet was super cuddly. But then Julia's up, so, it must be almost 5. So they're all hanging out on the couch.
Well, that's nice for them.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks, y'all. Have a good evening. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Good morning to you, Lucky Phil. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.